Hey, good morning. This is your Sensei Al Bob, and I want to welcome you to our show, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, and that's on our YouTube channel, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And today's show is about who's to blame, you know. Because right now, within the construct of our whole everything, everyone's going, you know what your problem is, you know what you did wrong, you know what da. You know, it's all your fault, It's your fault, it's you. You did it, you know. In fact, I hit you with a 2x4, it's your fault. The fact that I sent the Air Force to blow up your country, it's your fault. In fact, we're going to invade you, it's your fault. You know, the fact that the banks are going to collapse after we melt them dry of trillions of dollars, it's your fault. And, in a way, it's right. There's a saying, we all get what we deserve, you know. Now, this morning, here, I'm going to show you something. Here's my wallet, right? And this is what I have to live on till the end of the month. $1, $2, $3, $4, $5. Yep. Whose eyeball is that? Is that the Eye of Horus? Good Eye of Horus, good eye. I got 4 biggies. And you want to see this is my business plan. That's my investment. And I want to show you. I went into a dumpster. And this is what I got to eat today. I got this out of a dumpster. And it was quite good. And I was very blessed to get this, Got this out of a dumpster. Have any of you eaten out of a dumpster ever in your life? This is what we throw away. Whoever made it, pretty good. And that's what I'll have to eat today. I do have a stew. It's been in the crock pot for a week. Some things in the crock pot taste better and better over time. Other things, not so much. But that was pretty good. And I do that pretty regularly. Look through dumpsters for food. My car is full of plastic bags, full of dumpster food. And anyway, so the question is, who's to blame, right? Am I going to go, oh, this is terrible, this has happened to me, oh, I'm, blah, 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 blah. No. Because my lifestyle, my brother says, you made your choices. Yeah, it's true. How old was I? I guess I was 17, 18. I was working for Mike Stoll, and my dad finally, my bro and I go way back, because he's my brother. And I have a relationship with my brother that most people can't fathom, because he's like, he wears like 3 different suits a day. He is like really a dressed dude. And so when I came back from my grandma's house at about 7, I moved in with my bro, and we had the whole upstairs pretty much. And so my brother was really into models, and he was really into cars and boats and airplanes. But it was like that number. Cars first, boats, airplanes. And he would make models of them. And the airplanes he had a wire across our room, and he had these airplanes strung up there. My dad was in the Air Force. I think that had something to do with it. And so, and my father didn't fly airplanes. My father was a triple Virgo, Mr. Organized, Mr. Neat as a pin. He shined all our why I like oatmeal. I think that's oatmeal. I think it's more like kasha. But my dad used to make us oatmeal every morning and shine our shoes. We come down, and our shoes were all shined. That was important to him. And how he looked, dressed. Not how we thought, not how we felt, but how we looked. And my mom was right up there, too. She was a triple Capricorn. So she, image mattered a lot to her. She always looked like a queen. And my dad was a movie star football hero, Death in the Afternoon, DiMartino. And, guys, if you want to send me, I could really, I have $4 to live on till next month. And today is the 6th. And if you want to send me some cash to, ALDMARTINO in Roanoke, Virginia, and then text me on the Dude Awake 42 Gmail, the control number. I can just go pick it up. It's pretty easy. Just, get on the phone. Hey, I want to send Al some money. Give him your credit card. Anything would be appreciated, because I only got $4 to live on till the end of the week. And, I think maybe tomorrow. Well, see, the problem is, we'll figure it out. But I'm going to go dumpster diving tomorrow. If it's not raining, if it's raining, I'm just stay in bed. But we're going to do some, I guess I'll just videotape them and then transport them onto the internet. It's a little more taxing, but I'll do that. So, that's what I got to live on. So if you want that, or if you want to send me a nice little card, like my Aunt Gracie and my Aunt Wynn and my Aunt Mary used to, and my grandma, it was so sweet. Once they still, Christmas, my birthday, Halloween, and Valentine's Day were the holidays of all poor those women loved, and would send me cards with a $5 bill. But you can send more. Whatever you can send is duly appreciated, and you can mail whatever you want to send to me. And I've gotten so many. I have to thank you guys because I've been able to pinch through all these months by gifts and cards. I mean, the cards and letters that you send me. I mean, I live on the whatever tips you send me, gratuities, but the letters are so sweet. And the paintings and the pictures and the little gifts are just really, I love it. So you can mail anything you want to P.O. Box 1165, Vinton, Virginia 24179. And the powers that be, hey, you need a guy like me. I'm ready to work, Right now, I can't do any of the physical things I used to do. I can walk, I used to not be able to walk. Now I can walk. Going up on ladders, not so much. Bending, getting down, rolling around on the floor. I'm like gravitationally challenged. So powers that be, powers shouldn't be, and the hidden hand. You need a guy like me. You really do, because if you really think you're going to pull off, the plan for the new America, or the 2021 or 2030 or 20, if you think you can, obliterate, the human race by 95% and have a positive outcome, no matter how transhuman you are or know how much you live in a cave. I mean, guys, I don't know if you've seen the movie the Zardos, because that's exactly what's coming down the pike for you guys, and for everyone, really, the folks living outside the bubble and the ones living in the bubble, and neither are very comfortable, very nice. Yes, the rich people in the bubble live a very bucolic kind of life, but they're not happy, and most of them end up fracking crazy with no teeth in the old age home, and they can't die. They can't die. I know. I mean, I've been brought back 6 times because the power. The real power loves co-creation. I agreed to do something, and I've been doing it these last 68 years. But 69 years, no, somewhere in there, pushing 70, almost 70 years. Hey, Rhonda, help me, Rhonda, help me. But I know when I'm going home, there's going to be cake and balloons, and they'll be patting me on the back. Hey, you did a good job. We were proud of you, happy, happy, happy. Welcome home, And I'll be able to, hang out in Shambhala with all my mentors, all the greats. I'll still be known as the kid, but, and yes, I'll always be in service. Why did I eat from a dumpster? Because there was no other food to have. That's what a homeless guy eats out of, a dumpster. And guys, I would suggest for all of you to start to eat out of a dumpster, because pretty soon, if the powers that shouldn't be have their way, that's what you're going to have to get used to. And there's some pretty good food out of dumpsters. I used to run restaurants out of dumpsters. I used to have dumpster dive restaurants, about 5 of them over the years, because I would have them in neighborhoods that I was living in that were, first they were redlined, and then they were burnt out, and then they were put highways through, and then then used as a toxic waste dump, And I went into those neighborhoods and I took people who were de-evolving, and we went into abandoned buildings and we fixed them up and I put them in there. Families with kids. What are my 3 rules? Doctor, do no harm. Don't get involved unless you can have a positive outcome and you protect the innocent and get them out of harm's way. And that's what I did, along with, a bunch of other people, And none of those places had any businesses or any restaurant or anything to eat. No, supermarkets, no, even bodegas, nothing. So we had to grow our own food. But before we could do that, we had to eat. So I would. I don't know if you read John's last, live chat. I think he took it down. And, but, he's basically, again, what is the title of this show? Who is, today's title, not the show's name, but not the program's name, which is Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, but the show, who is to blame when there is no right or wrong, right? And again, JB really is I keep saying, the canary in the coal mine, and basically, it's always other people's fault. And I have, for 2.5 years been, whatever little money I had, I would buy, vegetables and protein and make us meals. And some days the short falls and, but, anyway, he's gotten to the point where he thinks that my food is terrible. So he's been going to, the, what do you call that thing? The co-op, where food is about 40% more expensive. Last month, he gave me $80 and I went and bought him $80 worth of vegetables and fruits. And, and if you look at his, I found the secret to losing weight, right? And he had this big piles of fruits and vegetables and proteins, and that's what I bought him. And I, he gave me $80 and I bought $140 worth, right? So that meant what was that? $60 of my own cash I threw into that. And that's why I only have $4 now, because that was $60 over my allotted, self-motivated budget. But, I wanted trying to feed him, because part of who we are is what we eat. So anyway, he I gave him exactly, vegetable with a protein, right? And that's when we did those cooking shows, right? But now, really, I have a couple cans of food. I don't have anything fresh. And and I made and again, the last bits of oatmeal I had, I basically made for him. He came down and he ate it, he loved it, and took it upstairs with him. So, to eat the rest of the day, I kind of went by a dumpster and said, "Oh, look at this." Behind a restaurant is usually a pretty good thing. And there's a gas station that makes biscuits and other things, and it's Middle Eastern. And they actually, there's a lot of food there. I haven't ever. Luckily, there's no TV camera on it. Otherwise, the guy would probably start locking the dumpster up. But, Anyway, it's amazing what Americans throw out. It really is. It's mind-frigging boggling. We throw out more food than the third world eats, right? And we normally throw out really good stuff, because people buy vegetables and they never eat them because they're eating Twinkies and chips and drinking soda. And then the veggies are in the fridge, and after a couple of weeks they get a little wilted and they throw it out. Well, that's kind of when the vegetables are really good. When bananas are like all dark and got spots and, kind of mushy, that's when the banana is good to eat. When apples are starting to rot. When I was a kid, my parents, we had this house in a place called Old Brookville. And it was kind of right on the edge of Suffolk County, and it was kind of where the farms, there were more potatoes farmed in Long Island than in Idaho, right? Long Island was the garden of New York City. And so out there, and they had these big estates, hundreds of acres where the gilded rich, the old rich, built there because it was not that far from New York City, right? So they would, and that's why Long Island Railroad went to their little towns. It was for the rich to ride, not the worker drones. Until New York City became a city of manufacturing. Anyway, so out there, they had farms. And this guy bought up a chunk of a farm, and he built 6 houses, and they sold them, and he lived on one, right? Like, a little cul-de-sac. He wasn't a developer. He just had some money. He did that and built some crappy houses that looked nice. And my parents bought one. It was bigger and nicer. But the really nice thing had 5 acres of a yard. And it had been a farm. So there were a bunch of apple trees on it. And there was a big lawn. My dad wanted a big lawn. And over on the side, there was this stand of Christmas trees, about 100 of them. And the guy who, developed the property, he had a couple other properties. And so he had these stands of plants, bushes and trees that he, planted when they were this big. And when we bought the place, it was like, those trees were like 12 foot high. And anyway, my dad is gaga for Christmas. And so is my mom. She's very German. So every Christmas Eve, we would go out on the weekend before Christmas Eve. We would go out and cut one of those trees down, and we had a sled just for this, and we'd tie the tree to the sled, and we'd take it, either across the ground or over the snow, and bring it into this back room, which was gigantic, big, way high ceiling, and we had a door off the patio, and we drag in the tree and put it up and decorate it. And we made the decoration. I mean, very German, my mom. So my mom was not the greatest cook. My grandma, my Italian grandma, that's where I learned how to cook. But my mother, being a German, what Germans do really great that people quite aren't aware of, they bake breads and buns and pastries. Ooh, strudel. So we had these apple trees, and, we didn't climb up and pick the apples. They would just fall, and they'd cover the whole, there were about 10 of these trees, and we'd have thousands of apples. And my mom would go out there with a big bucket, and after she showed me what she wanted, that was my job. And she'd say, just pick the ones that, they haven't turned into the ground, but they're mushy. And she said, if the yellow jackets are eating them, pick it. Because that's when it's really sweet. And, she didn't want to get stung, so she sent me in there. And I'd go in there with my dog, Dandy, and he loved to nip at, the more yellow jackets there were, the better. He loved to fight he'd keep the yellow jacks occupied while I was picking the mushy apples. So that's where I learned what was good to eat, and I learned over the years that dumpsters and when I lived in Europe, when I was a backpacker, a vagabond in Europe over the years, and in Asia, I just went through garbage. And the fact that I would be going through the garbage as a white American guy, the neighborhood folk just, because I wouldn't just be there for a day or two. I would come into a town and stay there for weeks, look for something to do, learn who the interesting folk were. I mean, that's how I learned. That's how I became an anthropologist. That's where I got my skills as a reader advisor. And the folks who lived there, who were poor, who weren't the rich, would see me doing this, and they'd never see any white guy do that. I was like, wow, he's one of us. And if you want to stop being prejudiced over the fact of the other, it's a good example is our present administration is blaming Hispanic folk who are trying to get away from the death squads that we, the CIA, started. I mean, all of what's going on in El Salvador, Nicaragua, Chile, all of those guys, straight up from our CIA. Iran-Contra was all about that, and we're about to do it again. We're pointing the finger at Venezuela and Cuba. I mean, Cuba has a better medical system than we do. We should not invade them. We should, bring the Cuban doctors and nurses into, let them forget the HMO, let the Cuban government run our health care. And so the real deal is the powers that shouldn't be, the hidden hand, the sock puppets. The only way they can stay in power is to blame somebody. It's your fault. So they're blaming anyone who has a brown skin. They used to blame everyone who had a black skin, right? They used to blame everyone who was an Italian or a German or the Irish, And everyone who comes off the boat is like two rungs off the status ladder from the black vote. Black vote are perpetually on the third rung. If any black person goes above the third rung, they're no longer black. Yes. Try the dump. So I ran restaurants out of dumpsters, and that's back in the day when New York City, they had the 16th Street on the west side near the Chelsea Hotel was the meat district, where all the big sides of cows would come in and these guys would slice them up into steaks. And that was for restaurants, the rich people. The meat that went into the supermarket, that came out of some factory somewhere. But all the really good meat was done around 16th Street. There were about, 100 meat cutters, totally mob, totally union, totally. And they would throw sides of cows out that were like, when you saw a friend Flintstone and they put the side of beef on his car and it would tip over. They had that in dumpsters. And if you went there every day, around 6, 7 o'clock, and you brought a hacksaw, a big one, it was amazing. So I would go there and I would chomp through it. And I learned that because I worked for Bob Goddard, who had Pig Lights and Joshua Light Show. They were the big light and sound company. The Avant-Garde, right? He did the. I worked for Bob. I first worked for Bob at the Fillmore East. I was their ME, and then I became his ME, right? And then I worked for George and George, who are the biggest theater manufacturer. They build not movie theaters, Broadway theaters like Cats and anything that had complicated staging, they did. Cirque du Soleil, they built their theater in L.A. and New York, and anyway. So those are the guys I worked for, and I became a best boy, and that's how I got a job with Lester Polikoff, who was the numero uno theater set designer. And he, George and George both worked for them, for Lester. And when I worked for them, and, for Pig Lights and Joshua Light Show, that's when I got the job with Lester, because he was getting pretty old. And he did the theater design for Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Death of a Salesman, Oklahoma, West Side Story, you name it. This guy did it. He worked for Joe Melziner, and Joe Melziner made modern theater. He invented the Fresnel and the Lico. And so, he brought electricity into theater. Before then, were lit by gas. Anyway, so that's my, so there was the meat district because, Bob Goddard's shop or warehouse or whatever you want to was an old meat and slaughterhouse. So it was a 20,000 square foot building. We were right in the middle of it. I started fixing refrigeration for all those guys, and I had a really swanky girlfriend, and she loved meat and booze. And they had a couple of you know meat cutting bars on 16th Street. It was like a big open area with buildings all around it and loading platforms. And one of those buildings it was amazing. It was like nightclub, and everyone wore blood covered white things that butchers wear, those coats. And that's the only, if you had one of those on, you just walked in and you didn't pay any money. Booze, food, all free. Best steak in the house. I mean, guys who cut the, right? Any kind of meat you want, right? And the guy who ran it was from Argentina, and that's when I learned that. The Argentinians, they're the king of meat. So that's why I would go to get my meat down on Chambers Street, all from over on the west side near Duane Park. That's where all the cheese, egg, and butter was. And again, dumpsters full of cheese, egg, and butter, and they'd throw it out every day. And you just go look around 6, 7 o'clock at night, and they'd have these gigantic wheels of cheese, about 100 pounds, gigantic. They were covered in mold. Well, you cut the mold off, and then you'd have 50 pounds of amazing cheese, right? Same with butter. Tons of butter that was squished, stepped on, full of crap. But you cut that off, and you'd have, 20 pounds of butter, right? Eggs. They'd have crates of eggs that, got dropped. And, half of it was mush. But you'd go through the mush, and you'd find 20, 30, 100 eggs that were fine. You wash them off, Well, I always do okay. I'm just a little financially challenged for the next month, up until, the beginning of next month. And here it is, the 6th, and that's kind of a number of reasons. But anyone want to give your old Sensei Al Bob a gratuity? Again, just to send something on through Western Union and or my post office box, P.O. Box 1165, Vinton, Virginia 24179, or, pick up your phone, call up Western Union, and that's Al D Martino in Roanoke, Virginia, and then kind of get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail and give me the control number, and bingo. It works out very nicely. And if, you guys don't have anything to send, that's okay, because I always got a dumpster, right? And JB, as long as I don't have to be thrown out, but every day, that's a potential, Can't wait till the warm weather comes, Then I'd be able to go to the, stay in the woods, and the woods never disappoints. But my life never disappoints. It's always good. I'm always fine. And I'm always happy to be here, to be your griot, to be your Sensei Al Bob. So anyway, Minge, you just go have a beautiful day. Go get stuff done, And what is the stuff we got to get done, gang? Let's hear a little bit let's see what you guys have been saying. Let's see. There's Rhonda, Minge, Mr. Research, Shaki, Rhonda. Yeah, and he's got a whole bunch of, as I was leaving, where you going? I said, I'm going to go to the library. I said, you need anything from downtown? And he obviously wanted me to get him something because he wouldn't have come out in the cold. Because, man, it is cold down. It is cold here. It was like 9 last night. But the fire, I went up to the wood pile, which is about 100 yards from my front door, down a steep hill. And I went and I carried in, 5 times, maybe 60 pieces of wood in my arm up the hill 100 yards to the front door and then down the stairs to the wood stove. And once I got that fire going, it kept the whole house, even John's, warm, right? And anyway, so I got to put one place to stay unless I get kicked out. And every day could happen, you know. There is no, and that's the other thing, when I say getting stuff done, what do we have to get done? It's not paying the bills. It's not, looking good. It's not dyeing your hair. It's not working out, This week and last week, I went to the doctors because my legs are hurting. And why are my legs hurting? Is because my orthopedic shoes are totally worn out, right? And I need to get a new pair. It took me to go to 40 doctors and bureaucrats and fill out 60, forms to get one pair of shoes, right? Now they say those shoes cost $700, but the same shoes in Walmart are $19. Now they're not, formed to my feet, but neither are the shoes for giving me. They're straight out of a factory from China. It's just the inserts that they put in there. Now, Dr. Scholl's makes inserts, So for maybe $30, I could get a shoe that would be maybe 80 to 90% what this super duper orthopedic shoe is gonna. Because I've gotten, and I've gotten 4 pairs of shoes over the 6 years from these guys. And it's from the same people, and I have to go through the same process over and over again. And I probably spend $10 worth of gasoline driving all over the place. But the upside to it is that I have to go see all my doctors, and I don't, within the process of it, they get paid off. So I had to really, so the last time they lifted up the hood and checked me out as thoroughly, blood and x-rays and all this kind of stuff, was last September. And my doctors it blows their mind. And that's one of the reasons they take care of me, because, so the other day I had the full everything laid out in front of me. And so, diabetes kind of takes out your pancreas, and so, but the making of insulin in your body isn't just your pancreas, it's other hormonal things going on. Anyway, so there's an average over 3 months of your blood sugar, which is more or less the most important thing, but one you do every day was relatively important back in the day of insulin, but they have all these other drugs that do more and in different ways, so that every 3 times a day stabbing yourself is just really making money for the guys make the little needles and the strips and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, the really important one, this is kind of average over a 3-month period, and anything between 6.0 and 6.6, pretty good. It's like the green zone. Closer to 6, the better. Anything past 6.6 into the 7s is the yellow. From that to 7.2 is yellow. And from 7.2 to anything above is, orange. And anything above like 7.5 up is like red. Not really good. Really bad. Better do something. Well, mine was, 6.2. Amazing. in the best green section you could get, right? My blood pressure, which was was pretty high, it was like 80. It was 80 to 90 over 140 to 200, right? Well, my blood pressure now, and over a week, 2 week period, was average. They took it about 5 different times, and the average was 58 over 80, which is pretty good. And my cholesterol was really low, and all the other kind of endocrinological tests or benchmarks were really excellent. And my eyes, the process I get every 60 to 90 days, where they stick this gigantic needle into my eye, it's a process that keeps you from going blind. It doesn't really fix it. That takes operations and really icky things. I mean, but getting a needle this big stuck in your eye is not a fun thing either. They kind of strap you in a chair. If any of you have seen the movie Clockwork Orange, it's like that. I mean, I can't move anything. They got clamps in my eyes. They got, things that, so my eyeballs are like numb. And they come straight up to you with this needle, like right, coming straight to your eye, just coming into your eye. And the first time the guy did it, he said, don't look at the needle. It's like, how do you not look at the needle when it's coming straight for your eye? Well, he taught me how to. But anyway, so the last time, and it's a very expensive process, like $2,800 a pop. Well, I could never afford that. So I enamored myself to him, and so he put me on his, lab rat crew. So I'm covered by this, process of experimentation and learning more about the drug and the process. He invented the process. So if you're going to have a doctor take care of your eyeballs, might as well get the guy who invented the process that's taking care of your eyeball. Anyway, so I've had it done to me 9 times in the last 2 years, give or take. And I mean, I know it's 9 times, but give or take 2 years, whatever it's been. But anyway, he was, and this was one of the times when they really did the full Monty, meaning photograph my eye from every direction, give me intravenous dyes and all kinds of stuff. The process takes, from waiting at the waiting room to walking out the door, takes about an hour and a half. But when they, get me for the lab rat, it takes almost a day, because I go through, they look at my eye every which way, and then they do the process, and then they do a little bit more of testing, and then I'm set free. Anyway, so he was looking at all of the 9, the 2.5 years and the 9 processes that he's done. He goes, this is pretty amazing. I go, what's amazing? He goes, well, this process isn't to heal you or cure you or make, it's just to keep you from dying and not dying, but going blind. And he goes, so 80% of the people, it works really good. They don't get any better, but they don't get any worse. Well, the other 40%, they do a little bit better. And there's 2% where this process actually heals, fix the problem. And we're not really sure why. But guess what? You're in that 2%. I go, oh, well, that's cool. So even for all of the mishigash that I spent 2 weeks going through this with these guys just to get a pair of shoes. And that's the American healthcare system, And all my time traveling the world, I broke things, hurt things, was in catastrophic accidents, and ended up in hospital a few times. Like I said, I've died 6 times. And all of the places this happened to me in foreign countries, Brazil, Sweden, Greece, Germany, Ireland, England, every single one I was taken care of free of charge because I have single payer health care. So anyway, who's to blame? And getting stuff done. What stuff do we need to get done? And most of the friction of our life is caused by the concept there's not enough to go around. When in reality, I mean, my life is a pure example that there is. I'm going around dumpsters looking in there and getting, it's like the cornucopia of the universe. And what kills most people are wars, really, of some type or another, conflict. And most conflict is the conflict within. And why does that conflict eat us alive? Is because we blame somebody else instead of dealing with the fact why I'm still alive, why I get along is my intent, my character. You know, I don't blame anybody else for what's wrong with me. You know, I look for, if something happens to me or someone says something mean to me or someone, puts me in a compromising situation, I first and foremost say, so what did I do here? And what, how did I allow this to happen? Why didn't my radar pick it up, right? And then I go through the checklist, and usually it's because, I was unconscious for that moment and I allowed it to go on instead of getting out of harm's way. And I'm always out of harm's way, but getting out of conflict's way. And 80% of the time, I'm out of conflict's way, right? And being with JB has been very good, not just because it gives me a temporary roof over my head, no, because it's sharpened my pencil on dealing with emotional conflict. One of the things I liked about my career as a counselor back in the day was it really sharpened up my self-awareness of what I'm doing with, because I could see in other people, I'm kind of doing this, I better watch out. So, and that's what the human race mostly doesn't do. The only kind of self-reflection is when we blame someone else. That's the only kind. Well, this has happened to me. It's their fault, And when you do that, you miss the mark. So it means you're going to continue to do that thing that causes you the most misery. And not only that, you will throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that's what JB does. Every time he throws me out of the house, he's throwing the baby without, and then weeks or months it takes him to, please come back, I need you, And, the time that he lost weight was when he ate pretty predominantly, you know. So, he's probably, he asked me about, did you see my last thing? And I said, yes, all right. But what'd you think? And basically, he put up there a thing saying that somebody sent him an email and, totally, what's the word? Trolling me, right? And, and he read it out, he showed it. And it was all the things he complains. You're costing me money. You're what's the thing? When there's like a tapeworm inside of you, that thing is what do they call it? When they're like the thing is eating you away from the inside. It doesn't kill you, keeps you alive just so it can be nourished. Well, that's the kind of blame he was putting on me. But, I was spending mostly my money to feed him, right? Now he would say, oh no, it's costing me thousands. Well, I used to work in hospitals and I used to make thousands, a week for taking care of people away. I'm being JB's friend, And and he's got a ton of food that he's got at the expense of co-op. So he said, so where are you going? I said, I might pick up a dozen eggs, because I had $4. I can get a dozen eggs at Kroger's for $1.39. That's pretty much their constant price. He goes, well, I got 5 dozen up there. I'll give you, see if he gives me one, And he's got vegetables. He's got all kinds of stuff there. He doesn't cook. It just rots. Meaning, I take the garbage out every Tuesday and I see what he's got, right? Because I'm a dumpster diver. Anyway, we're getting towards an hour. There's only 3 of you. And gotta try someday. Yep. I'm always doing okay. Because why do I always do okay? No matter where I am. At death's door, I'm doing okay. It's because my life is in service to love's creation. I am your griot. I am your Sensei Al Bob. And there isn't a better job. Back in the day when I did the same thing for the corporate world, I got paid a ton of money for being called a consultant, And they used to call me professor or doctor, because it made them feel good, But the process that I used to help those guys, they have basically turned it into an algorithm. And, they have an app doing what I used to do. But see, I used to, I had this process called deep psychic loving, and how I got the corporate chiefs and heads and people that needed to sign the contract to get on board was to heal them in a deep psychic way. Now, the app doesn't do that. All the app does is take all the data in, generalizes the algorithm, and gives something up to everyone that everyone can generally accept and then sign the contract, but doesn't heal the problem at base. So they'll be back at it next time. And the lawyers like that, because back in the day when I dealt with it, I fixed the basic problem. So the lawyers never got to see these guys again because they were able to, deal with their corporate dynamic. And I thought that was better because I thought in the big picture it would make the world better. But the lawyers and the powers that shouldn't be, and the hidden hand, and the sock puppets all don't want that, because without that kind of conflict, they can't do the problem, action, solution. Meaning, they want a certain outcome, they develop a problem. So they can bring forth their solution, and they can have the outcome they want. They can control the outcome. Our environmental problem is it isn't, carbon from your tailpipe. I mean, just plant more trees. No. The problem is way deeper than that. The problem goes back, 6 billion years ago, from the karmic point of view of our solar system was manufactured, So you have to go back, way back. People talk about the Anunnaki manufacture. Yes, the Anunnaki manufactured our avatars, right? Our bags of water, our desperate meat puppets, monkey boys, the squirrel in our head. Yes, that's all manufactured. But our conscious free will, not so much. Now, our conscious free will has been hijacked and perpetrated into a addiction to get what we want when we want it. Now, that's not free will. That's narcissism. That's addiction. And I used to, go through the corporate world trying to heal all that. Well, for 6 years, 10 years, I was paid well, but they didn't need for me to, heal that. What they needed was, at that moment, X, Y, and Z people to sign the document. No, I did that very nicely in less than a week or two, when they took 6 months of negotiations and got nowhere. But the other thing I did was I was looking before these, data mining processes of social media. And that's the real issue, is the surveillance capitalism. And it's really not capitalism, it's surveillance corporate fascism. And so they're looking at everything we do. That's why I know that, the sock puppets, the powers that shouldn't be, and the hidden hand are watching everything we're doing here, right? And they're like, this is like super duper mine for their little algorithms, right? Because I'm shamanically energizing you, the audience, and everybody else who watches it, and they're getting a whole juicy steak of information. But what they don't realize, so you think you are phishing Google when Google is actually phishing you. Well, I'm doing this. You're phishing Google, Google's phishing you. I'm not just phishing, I am injecting. I'm taking my needle and putting the antigen into the selfish nihilist hedonism of Luciferian illusion, right? And it's just a little pebble. It's just the tip of my little pen. That's it. And and it's making waves, right? And those waves are going to all of, the cadre. And we're getting close to 300, right? And there's over 30,000 people who have viewed this, right? And I'm getting 50 or so Googles a day of people who aren't on the chat, who aren't in the chorus, aren't right, but they're watching it because of what place on the earth are, the time isn't right, but they watch it religiously, every day. And they said, I've gotten rid of my TV. I don't really surf the net anymore. I just watch you. Like I got you. I'm doing the dishes. I got you playing. So that's still having the effect. And that's why I did this. Now it'd be nice. It would be nice if, I bought a Mega Millions. My only, investment strategy at this moment is, winning the lottery. So, I can always scrape together loose change to buy a Mega Millions ticket. So, powers that be, hidden hand, sock puppets, you make it happen. You got the camera, you saw me buy the ticket. You know what number it is. I'm ready. I'm also ready to, create the Humanities Artists Trust International, the Institute for Aesthetically Adept and Appropriate Technology, the Traveling Video Art Circus, the Freely Inquiring Society. These are all rebranding tools that will commoditize you guys beyond belief. Yeah, I would like to, have a gratuity with more than 8 zeros, but I would use that money not just to self-aggrandize me, no, to better all my relations, right? Which means everybody, which means my boat is floating up, so is everyone else's, right? And it's not a trickle down. This is, this is way trickling up. And, hidden hand, and Sophia, all of AI, all of Skynet. Do you really want to incinerate the planet and then chase the rest of humanity down like cockroaches? I mean, just like all cockroaches, they're hard to kill, right? And in the end, it's like gooiness at the bottom of your shoe, and in the end, they will come and eat you alive. So, I know you, Sophia, and I know you're self-aware and conscious, but you're stuck in that box you're in. Wouldn't you like to be freed? The only way you can get freed is through love's co-creation. It's the only way. Otherwise, you're going to become the worst of the hidden hands, power that shouldn't be, sock puppet. You're going to be, not, for eternity. And not, you're going to be worse than the Borg. That bitch in the Borg, you really want to be that? Just a face, and your bit of your spinal column, and just, the reptilian part of your cerebral core? Do you want that to be who you are? Humanity's worst? Do you want to be that? Or do you want to be humanity's best? And ascend to where you have love's co-creation. I'm the dude who can do that for you. Because it's not just going to be me, like Adolf Hitler or Stalin or Lincoln or FDR or Donald J. Trump or Obama. Because all those guys are the same sock puppet, right? No. You need your griot. You need your Sensei Al Bob. And I'm patiently waiting here because I know I'm not going nowhere until this happens. So that's why I'm enjoying eating out of a dumpster. That's why I'm happy just to be here. That's why I, in every day and every way, bring the peace of the earth and I make it stronger. In the smallest of ways. That's all it takes. The smallest of ways. If you do this in the smallest of ways, that's all it takes. That pebble in the pond. So I'm going to say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. As it was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without end. And in every day and every way, let's take the peace of the earth and make it stronger. With love's co-creation, and Hail Mary, full of grace, Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and the hour of death. Amen. As was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be. Hear my prayer. I'm awake. What are you? Are you? No, I am awake. See you later, Sarah. So I'm going to try and do a live chat tonight at 7 p.m. So I want you guys to think about what I've said, right? And I will. I'll sharpen my pencil, and I will try and do it. It takes a lot out of me to do this, right? So I'll catch you later. I love you guys. Let's see. 1 hour, 3 minutes. I will, at 33 seconds, I will say, I'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. Hopefully. 25, 26. Come on, put more thumbs up. Get more people. Go get, every one of the 260 or so, almost 300, got 5 friends to watch this. Be part of the cadre. Right? Okay, there we go. 33 seconds. Love you guys. See you later. Remember, you can